Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Devil Experience. My name is Eric. We got the latest of Manchester United news. Couple shock pieces coming out. I don't know. I think the journalists are bored, or maybe they're under a little bit of pressure, to meet some deadlines, to get some things out, and there's not a lot going on. But we have a story, or we got a couple of stories. One story is that Manchester United are looking to do some sort of a sensational swoop for Alexis Mac Allister from Liverpool. Another story involving Martin Odegaard. Apparently, he has told his agent to start discussions with Manchester United as he is looking to leave Arsenal and wants to come to Manchester United. And there's also a story about that Manchester United have apparently been or have done so in the past, trying to get Jurgen Klopp to come to Manchester United after he left Liverpool. So quite interesting. We got a bunch of these updates. We're going to get into it. I think a lot of it is nonsense, but we will talk about it. We also have a couple other stories surrounding a couple transfers and stuff like that. And, we haven't been live for about 4 or 5 days now, so there's some things to talk about. There's not a lot that has happened. It's been sort of quiet, obviously, with no Premier League going on, and we got these 2 weeks off, so it's a bit boring. But we will discuss some things. I do have to talk about obviously Sir Jim Ratcliffe and sort of the comments he made and what happened about that, and some other stuff. So, it's going to be a good show. Please make sure you smash the like button. It's the biggest way to support the channel, so get that done, people. Hit that like button. Let's get moving. And if you're new and you enjoy the content, make sure you subscribe. Become part of the community. Become part of the family. We're on our way to 3,300. We want to get to 3,500, but we are 10 away from 3,300. So, but other than that, let's get straight into it. Sebastian says hi again, mate, and everyone online. And says, Klopp to United, really? LOL, damn. Well, listen, it is sort of, it's not international break, but it's kind of like an international break. There's nothing really, there's nothing really going on. So, we do usually get these kind of weird, crazy stories, because they need something. And listen, they got jobs to do, like everybody else. But I do think it's quite. I don't really buy them. Let's just put it that way. Okay. Ratcliffe comments were quite pure hypocrisy. Well, listen, I'll get my 2 cents onto that. But let's hit this. Let's hit this first. Okay. Manchester United consider shock Alexis Mac Allister transfer raid on fierce rivals Liverpool. This is coming from the Daily Star, Crossy Daily Star, okay? And Crossy Daily Star because it is in the Daily Star, the Mirror, but it is by Jeremy Cross, chief sports writer, who, to be fair, Jeremy Cross he's not necessarily the Sun. He's got a little bit of, a reputation in terms of, he has a little bit of, when he does write, people do report, okay? Doesn't mean he's no Fabrizio, he's no Simon, he's not one of these top journalists, so to speak, but he does get a fair bit of credibility. So here is the article, or the information in the article, that Manchester United are weighing up a shock raid on bitter rivals Liverpool for Alexis Mac Allister. United are in the process of drawing up a list of potential midfield targets the club will attempt to sign in the summer transfer window. That much we very much know. It is understood Old Trafford bosses are keeping close tabs on the future of World Cup winner Mac Allister. Speculation is mounting that the Argentine superstar could leave Liverpool this summer. United have expressed interest in Adam Wharton, as we all know, Carlos Baleba, as we all know, and Elliot Anderson, as we all know. They go on to say luring Mac Allister from Anfield to Old Trafford would be a huge task for United due to the bitter rivalry which exists between the two clubs. No shit. They go on to say there's several players that, have both played for both clubs. Owen, Ince, yada, yada, yada. And literally all I have to say to this is, listen, from the article itself, there's no It's basically a fluff piece. Yeah, it's basically a fluff piece. I mean, to be honest, to the Mirror, okay, and I know it's the Mirror, but to the Mirror and to Jeremy Cross, I mean, this is the equivalent of some dude with no face on an X account putting out the words breaking news with the alarm emoji and saying Manchester United are interested or are looking at Alexis Mac Allister, and they're interested in signing him in the summer. There's no there about it. And I do think that these guys are... I think these guys are sort of grasping at straws to write something. I will just say, just to say it, but I don't care how good Alexis Mac Allister might be, or, you know, people might think he is. No, I don't want him at the football club. He plays for Liverpool, okay? And we'll go get our own guy that doesn't play for Liverpool, all right? How about that? No, I don't care if he was available on a free. I mean, listen, maybe if he was on a free, we get him, we turn him into our player, we piss Liverpool off, man. But we got to pay a transfer fee. I ain't giving Liverpool money, and I still don't like it. I don't like that he's played for Liverpool. I don't like that. Nah, it doesn't sit right with me. I don't like that sort of stuff. He lives in Monaco to escape from tax as well, so basically an immigrant too. Hell of a week on the politics. Sadly, our youngsters, and particularly young girls, have suffered a lot of abuse in the line with the heritage of an empire, so that divides population. Boy, this day has been horrible for me. I hate myself. I am so tired of life. What happened, Axe? What's wrong? This can't happen, won't happen, says Sebastian. No way, they're taking the piss, man. Nah, listen, I mean, I don't think that this is true in any sort of way. I think this is the story that has come out because, again, there's nothing going on, and we need to write something because everybody's sort of tuned out, okay? Everybody's sort of tuned out. There's no football going on. There's no real news coming out of Manchester United. There's no, the transfer window is closed. There's nothing that's really, apart from Sir Jim Ratcliffe being an idiot, okay? There's nothing of substantiating news that's going to happen to Manchester United unless, a part of Old Trafford collapses or something like that. I don't know, nothing's going to happen. Some of the players got a little bit of time off. They've gone, to relax a little bit. Bruno went to go watch a game in Portugal, and some other players are doing some other things. There's nothing happening right now. So literally in the span of 2 days, or in the same day, we've gotten a story about Manchester United considering a shock move for Alex Mac Allister. We also got another story that apparently Martin Odegaard has instructed his agent to begin negotiations with Manchester United as he would like to make a switch to Manchester United. It says Martin Odegaard has instructed his agent to open talks with Manchester United over potential summer transfer, as per, and I can't even tell you this, is Top Skills Sports UK. They got 43,000 followers. They apparently are exclusive European transfer scoops and viral goal madness, daily Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, and more. This is who reported it. I think this was yesterday. Okay. And to Martin Odegaard and his transfer, I would say no, thank you. No, thank you. I don't want Martin Odegaard. I don't think he's really that good. And I don't really like doing these deals. I don't really like doing these deals of giving money to... Listen, if Arsenal don't really want Martin Odegaard, okay, and they're willing to let go of him, I don't really want him. I don't like the scraps thing, okay? I don't like the idea of giving teams that we are trying to compete with, okay, and that we are behind, by the way. If we were better than them, it's one thing. If we were on top of them, it's a different thing for me. But the fact that we are behind them to a certain degree, or we've been behind them, I don't like the aspect of taking a player from them and giving them money so that they can then take that money and go buy somebody better than the guy that we just got. We should circumvent that whole process and just go for the player that they would buy with the money we give them. So I don't really like that sort of stuff. I know we had like Robin van Persie, and that was good. But again, we were like way better than Arsenal. So, you know, we gave Arsenal money, and that it was sort of cheap for Robin van Persie as well. But we gave them money, but we won the Premier League, and, you know, I don't even know what they did. Can't remember, you know. We got Berbatov from Tottenham, okay, but we were miles better than Tottenham. So we could give them the money. When, you know, what are they going to do with it? But I don't really like these things. Like, you know, we gave Chelsea that Mount, the money for Mount, okay? And, you know, they have far more financial freedom than us, and they spend a shit ton of money, and the Mount thing hasn't really worked out because of his injuries, okay? So that wasn't good for us. We could have got somebody else. We could have got somebody different. We could have maybe got a player that Chelsea ultimately signed with the money that we gave them, and when they let Mount go, and we didn't do that. So, Renoso is here as well. What's up, Mike? It's a fan theory to keep us engaged. Hello, everyone, by the way. We have to talk about Ratcliffe's disgraceful comments. Boy, 90% of our players are foreigners. Well, we're going to talk about it, but I'm not going to get too much into it in terms of the political side, because we don't do that, and I'm not going to have a political discussion on the channel. But I will address sort of what he said and how he's stupid for what he said. Yeah, like Filth is an anime or a series. Yeah. I mean, how can you be the owner of our club and make such dumb statements? How long are we going to tolerate Ineos and Ratcliffe? We've all agreed that Eric Ten Hag or LVG, etc. weren't at our level. Why are we tolerating Ineos and the Rat? The level of stupidity and incompetence is abysmal. How many English employees has he fired? It's one thing if it's the players that want to hold on to but wants to leave, but if it's a player who hasn't delivered and is falling out of form with the club, it's foolish to think we will do well with them. Yeah, I mean, listen, I got my Arsenal friends, okay, and they are kind of, you know, over Martin Odegaard, and they're, you know, disappointed with Martin Odegaard. And they've been criticizing sort of heavily. You know, you still got those Arsenal fans that will go online and say that Martin Odegaard is one of the best players in the world. I don't think he is. And I never thought that he was better than Bruno Fernandes. You know, not even near Bruno Fernandes. But once upon a time, they wanted to have that discussion. And that's aged like milk for them. It's aged like milk for them for sure. So, you know, I wouldn't want Martin Odegaard. For me, it's like, no Martin Odegaard, no Mac Allister. Like we've talked about in the past, there is thousands and thousands of players in the world of football. We can go and find somebody that will work perfectly just fine for us. You just got to be at least minimum half decent at your job and half decent at scouting and understanding football, which is obviously still a bit of my worry with the ownership that we have, and the people sort of running the show. We even got today a little bit of sort of more PR coming from the football club about Omar Barada. You know, we got these updates today. The Athletic putting out a couple things. Basically, one of the things that said Barada is regarded as exceptional in dealing with agents and clubs, and a skill bolstered by him being fluent in English, Spanish, French, Catalan, and Moroccan Arabic. There was a couple other pieces as well, and I don't know if they're here. They are here. It says, sources close to Omar Barada, speaking anonymously, described him as someone well-suited to high-pressure roles. Affable, a quick learner, widely respected, and highly regarded. However, some at Manchester City viewed him as somewhat quiet and lacking big charisma, more a polished lab-grown. corporate executive than a flashy standout. And also, they added on, Omar Barada is widely praised for his outstanding ability to negotiate with agents and clubs, a strength enhanced by his fluency in English, Spanish, French, Catalan, Moroccan Arabic. A notable example came during the summer of 2022, signing of Erling Haaland from Borussia Dortmund. To help seal the deal, Barada arranged for Haaland's agent, Rafaela Pimenta, to work directly out of Manchester City's club offices for a full week. I mean, oh my God, like, that's so amazing. You know, are we supposed to really give a shit about that? You know, sometimes when they put these things out, okay, you know, they do sometimes give a bit of an interesting take from a different perspective, but at the same time, I read that, and I sort of just sit there and think, do they put these out thinking that, like, fans read this and then, like, get on their knees and look up to Omar and say, oh my God, he's literally a god. Like, he's a god. Like, what a genius. What a genius that when he was going to sign Erling Haaland, that he let his agent use Manchester City's club offices for a full week. Oh my God. Like, the guy is he's brilliant. He's brilliant. I mean, we should just... Then Omar, you know what Omar should do? Omar should, you know, he should go to Elliot Anderson, okay? And tell Elliot Anderson's agent, listen, Elliot Anderson's agent, I don't know who it is, but listen, Elliot Anderson's agent, you want to work on this deal, we'll give you a permanent residence in Old Trafford, okay? We'll give you a permanent room. You can live in Old Trafford for the whole entire time that Elliot Anderson gets to play at Manchester United. We will give you a whole room, okay? Like, you know, and you get free access to all the concession stands and, you know, the tap and the beer and all that shit. I mean, like, you know, I don't really... I find these stories hilarious. Like, you put these things out and it's like, what do you want the fans to really get out of that? I mean, okay, maybe he does have a good, outstanding ability to negotiate with agents and clubs. Maybe he does. I don't know. I don't know him, and I don't work with him, so I can't say. But, like, the last part just makes me laugh. It's just like, because he arranged Haaland's agent to work directly out of Manchester City's club office, it's like, are we supposed to just say he's like some sort of fucking genius or something? You know. Sebastian says, not to forget, Glazers treating us like cash cows. We can just wait for them to get bored, to be honest. What can fans really do right now? Well, again, I mean, my wholehearted argument to that is, whenever the Manchester United fan base decides that they want to do what the Olympic Marseille fans have done this past weekend or so, then we'll have a real discussion about it. But as long as Manchester United fans, my personal opinion, I'm not telling anybody to do anything, but personally, the way I see it, as long as Manchester United fans don't want to empty the stadium, then we pretty much bitch and moan for basically no reason. So, okay, Olympic Marseille have had like a disaster week. All right, De Zerbi has resigned. Their director of football has resigned. I think it was the director of football has resigned, and they had a match, and the stadium was 99.9% empty. Nobody went in the stadium. It was totally empty. The only people that were in the stadium was like about 10 people that went there to go hold up a banner. And it was like 3 banners that said something in French that I don't know what they said. So for me, until our fans are ready to do that sort of thing and not go in the stadium, then there's not much that we can do, Sebastian. I think I agree. When will we talk about our lack of winter transfers instead of trash talking the middle class working people? Not to forget sacking long-term servants and treating season ticket holders like shit. He is a millionaire and definitely doesn't care about middle or low class. Just needs the funding from the government. Well, okay. I guess. Listen, if you guys want to talk about this, the only thing that I'm really gonna say about this, all right, because I'm not gonna get into the politics of it, and I'm not gonna get in. I'm not gonna go on left or right. But what I will say is that I read these comments and just, I mean, he's a fucking idiot, okay? Sejim is an idiot for that. Now, maybe he doesn't really care. And maybe he is just a guy that's just like, I'm a billionaire, I'll say whatever the fuck I want, and I don't give a fuck, whatever. But as a person that owns, not even Manchester United, a football club, okay? To make this statement that he made is idiotic because of basically what it's turned into, okay? What it's turned into is there is a section of people that agree with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the comments he said, and there is a section of people that highly disagree with what Sir Jim Ratcliffe said and feel quite heavily offended, or are quite disgusted by it. And this is why I don't talk politics here, because I don't think that there should be politics involved with football in the first place. I think it's two totally different things. But also, just because you make a statement like that, there is no sort of winning that. Okay, once you make a statement like that, you have 100% divided everything. Okay? And that's what I've seen from the fallout anyway. I mean, I go on the internet and there are some posts and there are people that are saying things like you guys are saying, that you guys are offended, or you guys are, think it's disgusting or it's distasteful in what he said. But there is a whole nother section of Manchester United fans that agree with what he's saying. So the fan base has now got divided over a political issue that has nothing to do with football, has nothing to do with really the way our club is running. And also, people get quite emotional about these things, okay? Because I see people basically making stuff up, and taking it probably a step further than to what the comments he initially made. But this is what people do, and they will run with things, okay? And they will start filling in the holes and the gaps and whatever. I've seen some accounts post some ridiculous things, basically taking his words and twisting him even further, okay? He said certain things, but this is what happens when you say those things, okay? People, it starts going to the extremes. There's no center on this issue, all right? The center has disappeared immediately, all right? It's gone really far to the left and really far to the right, and that's it. But yeah, I just, as a football owner, you would never make these comments because it's a in my opinion, it's a lose-lose situation. It's a lose-lose situation. When you say something like that, you're going to alienate 50% of people, and you'll have 50% of people probably on your side. Maybe, somewhere around there. This is 50-40, 40-50, whatever way you want to swing it. But it's going to be ultra divided. That's also why, listen, it concerns me a little bit, because if I as a regular person, okay, that has a small YouTube channel, can understand that that's not something that's going to benefit really anybody from doing, okay, and then you have people like, whether you like them or not, but you have people like Mark Goldbridge in the United Stand, you have people like Terry Flewers, okay, you have people like even Flex and the United View and others out there, okay, they don't talk politics. They avoid the politic talk. There's a reason for that. Because they know, first of all, Manchester United specifically is a worldwide fan base, okay? There's all sorts of people. And Manchester is a place, and UK is a place where there's a lot of different people from a lot of different places as well, okay? You make a statement like that, you're going to alienate half of those people. It's such a stupid thing to do, which then concerns me because it's like, is he just an old billionaire that's out of touch with society and doesn't know what's going on, and he's smart in what he did in chemicals or whatever, but he kind of public relations and stuff like that, he's kind of just an idiot? Or is it more of the thing of that he just doesn't give a shit because he's a British billionaire, and with money comes power, and sometimes people that have money, that have power, they walk around and they just say, I will do what I want and I will say what I want and I don't give a fuck about anybody else. And really, in both scenarios, either way is really bad, because at the end of the day, you are a minority owner of Manchester United. You partially own this football club, and it's not a good look. It's not a good look either way. It's not really somebody that you want to be sort of the face that owns your club, to be doing these things or saying things like this. For the Strasbourg game. Yeah, I think it was for the Strasbourg. It was their latest game. So, Eric's ideology, centrism. He wants us divided anyway. Well, maybe so. His comments have divided the fan base on an issue that has nothing to do really with our football club. People have gone out of their way to try and make it about the football club, but I would just say, just take a step back. I understand some of the points that you're making, that these people are making, okay? But really, it's really got nothing to do with football almost, though, does it? It has nothing to do with the way our club is operated. It's got nothing to do with the Glazers and what they've done. It's got nothing to do with the fact that we've been shit for 10 years. And now, instead of like, we've got, our fan base has gone from arguing amongst, about managers or players to now we're having this political fight because one old man decided he was going to open his mouth and say something that's, first of all, it's a very divisive issue as it is. Not just in the UK, throughout the world right now. I mean, it's going on all over the place, okay? And it's very divisive, and it's not a topic that is generally discussed in a quite relaxed setting, okay? It gets very heated, it gets very emotional, all right? From both sides. So it was just really, it was so, like, and I read it because I was one of the first, I was up, right? I was up because I was going to work. And when I seen it, it was posted like literally 3 seconds. It was posted like 3 seconds. I read it and I already knew. As soon as I read it, I was just like, I literally sat there to myself and I said, this guy's a fucking idiot. I was like, this is going to be such a shitstorm now. I already knew what was going to happen. And then obviously it blew up into what it blew up into. But yeah, I mean, maybe he does want us divided. The Glazers have done a good job on dividing us for a long time. But I mean, there was a story that did come out about this, that the Glazers were not too thrilled about this, which I do tend to believe, because listen, as much as the Glazers might have done things to divide us, I've always said the Glazers don't talk to the media. They don't make statements like this. They're actually quite the opposite. So Jim on this, he's made a couple of these public statements. This one has been probably by far his worst, because it's been a highly controversial political one. But the Glazers don't do this. They've never done this. They don't like this. And I think this is why they don't like it. They don't want to be associated with anything. They just want it. What they want the most is to sit in the background and be forgotten about. Okay? They don't want to be talked about. They want shiny new toys and things to distract everybody so that they can just continue to sneak by. All right? And this thing from Sir Jim obviously bring a lot of sort of heat, attention. It actually came their way as well because, as people pointed out, like the mayor of Manchester in his statement saying that, what about the people that have basically robbed and destroyed the biggest institution and have contributed nothing to Manchester or to the football club? You have nothing to say about them. In fact, you've done a deal with them. Now, the thing about the mayor of Manchester, I'm not going to big him up too much because at the end of the day, he's still doing he's still doing a business deal with them. Okay, so for me, with that guy, if you want to put your money where your mouth is, or put your mouth where your money is, okay, pull out of the fucking deal. And then I'll give you 100% backing. But politicians' words are cheap, okay? And I don't trust any of them, and I don't like any of them, and I don't listen to any of them either, okay? Because it's all a play. It's all full of shit. So he came out, and listen, I do agree with the statement, but he was trying to score some political points there. And at the end of the day, really, it's all about the actions, okay? So I agree with what he said. It is a true statement, but at the same time, you can't say that statement and then continue on to do the deal with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the Glazers to do a regeneration project with them. I find it quite hypocritical. So, you were right. At the same time, such a personality should not talk about politics at his level. Well, listen, what I would say, and what I've heard a few people say is, listen, I believe in free speech, okay? And I think you should be able to say what you want, all right? And the people should decide if you are right or wrong. But there's a time and a place for everything. If Sir Jim wants to do political statements and he wants to be involved in politics, well, then don't own a football club. Especially don't own Manchester United. If he sold his minority investment and fucked off into the government or whatever, and he went and made political statements, some people will care, but it's not going to be the way it is, right? It's just no one's going to have it's not going to be to the degree of a problem it is now, because you own a football club that is sort of multicultural worldwide, and it's had loads of different people in it, okay? And the statements you made were statements that were obviously always going to make people upset that they feel like they are being talked about or spoken about. Obviously he's an idiot. Not to forget, we are an English club owned by foreigners. Well, yeah, I mean, listen, there's a whole hypocrisy thing in it. Ratcliffe is in the Epstein files. Listen, there's a lot of people in the Epstein files. If you're mentioned in the Epstein files, and I can't believe I need to talk about this, but if you're mentioned in the Epstein files, okay, and I'm not talking about anybody specific, I'm just saying in general, if you're mentioned in the Epstein files, you're in the Epstein files. Doesn't mean you've done anything wrong, okay? I've seen this in the public as well. People have gone batshit crazy. People need to relax a little bit, okay? Your name could be mentioned in it. Doesn't mean you did anything wrong, okay? There is a fucking list of like 150 plus people that are in the Epstein files. Not all of them have committed some heinous type of act, okay? Malta, my country, my parents' country, is in the Epstein files. I went through them. I read every single one. We have nothing to do with it. It was literally just them writing emails mentioning the country. Just like a bunch of other people. So, the world needs to tone down just a little bit because people have lost their minds. They're in the Epstein file, okay, but what did they do? Is there some sort of proof that they have done something bad? Or was their name just written in an email? Grace says, yo, peeps, what's up? Eric is in the Epstein files. I hope not. If I was in the Epstein files, I'd be shocked. Also, I'd be scared for my life because why do they know who I am? And what do they want from me? A special show tonight. Bruno on the list. His fans are kidding when they glaze him. P. Diddy is in there. I don't know if P. Diddy is in there. Jay-Z is in there. Jay-Z is in there. But now we're getting off topic, okay? So we're gonna circle back, all right? Because we're going too far. We're going too far. But yeah, I mean, listen, he's an idiot, okay? And the fact that he then had to come out and apologize, which, listen, we'll call a spade a spade. He only apologized because of the financial repercussions, okay? Manchester, and also, we'll further it as to why he's an idiot as well, okay? We literally, before that, okay, and this might not be, like, important in that way, but a week before that, we were getting reports talking about Manchester United are in a situation where we seem to be on the brink of maybe struggling to do brand deals, okay? We have, we don't have a training kit sponsor. The sleeve sponsor's ending. The Adidas deal that we done was restructured, and we get penalties for not being in Europe or not being in the Champions League and stuff like that. We got this whole report about how United are, like, sort of in this void right now of they need these brand deals, but they're looking for a specific amount of money and they want a specific deal, and they're willing to hold out, but they can't hold out for too long because they do need the money, and it's important to secure that. And then he comes out and make these statements, which then in turn has potentially further jeopardized getting a good brand deal. Because if you are a brand, okay, you don't want to associate your brand with somebody or something that is quite controversial. You don't want that. If you are a business, you don't want something that is controversial like that. Especially if you are a big brand with millions and millions of people worldwide, like a Nike, like an Adidas, or whatever other company. You don't want that, okay? As a business, okay, there's only one color and there's only one religion, and that is green, and that is money. And everybody is your customer. And if you're not dumb, then you would not alienate any part of sort of your customers. So he's come out, done this. It's been very divisive. And there was a report that came out that said, well, this has potentially maybe hurt some brand deal, maybe down the line or something like that. Maybe they're even less willing to do a deal, because not only are we shit, not only have we been run poorly, not only are we not winning, and we've been sort of a laughing stock throughout periods of the last 12 years, but now we also have a guy that owns the football club, or owns part of the football club, making very divisive political statements. And if you're a brand, why would you want to risk that? Why would you want to take that risk in doing a partnership and putting your name next to that associated with that person. You wouldn't. So, is Mr. Lobby and the Teletubbies in there? I don't know. I hope it does not affect our upcoming transfers and deals. We are already struggling. Well, I think if he shuts his mouth in terms of not making statements like that, it'll probably get buried. And people will probably forget, which tends to happen a lot. So, but if he comes out and does it again, of any sort, in any sort of way, well, then it's going to resurface and it's going to blow up even more, and it'll probably cause more damage. So, not everybody will forget, but what I'm saying is, like, other things will happen. They'll take precedent. They'll take the forefront. People's focus will be on that. People will kind of forget about it. You know what I mean? These things tend to happen. So, I mean, but it's a good point, Sebastian. I mean, it could very well potentially harm transfer deals as well. Because, I mean, if there's a player out there that felt quite offended by what he said, be like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go to a club with somebody that owns it that thinks that I am, lesser than them or something like that or whatever. Temu for sponsor. That's how our signings arrive. We get the Temu version of Haaland and the Temu captain, Temu training complex. You could get sponsored by Shein as well. Well, here's the thing as well, all right? And here's what's sort of going on as well, all right? There has been updates about the manager search, okay? And a couple weeks ago, we were getting sort of promised the world in terms of, and this has been my fear about the transfers, and now it's sort of happening to the managers. Okay, Ancelotti is out of the picture, and Tuchel is out of the picture, and Luis Enrique was probably never really in the picture, and it doesn't seem likely to be in the picture going forward. And what we're being left up with is, we've been getting updates and sort of news pushed to us that Manchester United are going to look for sort of best in class and get a top manager. And that is already quickly evaporating, and we are, in mid-February. We haven't even made it even close to the summer, and that list is already evaporating in terms of a top-tier manager. De Zerbi is now available. He's left Marseille. He's out of a job. Nagelsmann is potentially still on the table. There's still Glasner there. Maybe Areola. I mean, I think Areola is definitely available in terms of, I don't know if they'll go for him, but if they do want to go for him, they can go for him. And if ultimately they want him, they could get him away from Bournemouth. That won't be a problem. But we are losing the top tier end. And I don't know. I kind of feel like they want to give it to Carrick, but they're playing this sort of long dance, this long game where they're going to pretend like they're doing something. And I mean, from their part, it's not the dumbest move, because you can kind of save face. You don't have to make a decision about it now. You can let it play out, but at the same time, they are kind of playing both sides, because it's like they're promising people that they're going to do this, amazing sort of sophisticated manager decision, and it's going to be well thought out, and it's going to be analyzed, and it's going to be, one of the greatest manager searches in the history of manager searches. And it's already falling apart in that aspect, because as I said, like, I don't think there's much difference between Glasner and Carrick. I don't think there's much difference between Areola and Carrick. I don't think there's much difference between De Zerbi and Carrick. These guys are sort of all in, a similar basket. Even Pochettino or. And I always said that the only way you could sell it to me, even if Carrick does well and you don't get him, is to get somebody like an Ancelotti or Tuchel, people that have won multiple league titles, that have experience, that have won the Champions Leagues. But it doesn't seem like we're going to get that kind of manager, does it? Because of just how it's going. What's wrong with Carrick? There's nothing wrong with Carrick. There's nothing wrong with Carrick, but there's a discussion that needs to be had. There needs to be a thinking, there needs to be a decision, and ultimately there needs to be a plan. And you would be a fool, I think, if you just say, well, just give it to Carrick right now and let's go. I don't necessarily agree with that. And again, I think there's levels. You can't come to me and tell me that I would hold Ancelotti on the same level as Michael Carrick. I would not hold Thomas Tuchel, even though he's not really one of my favorites. But still, I wouldn't hold Thomas Tuchel to the same level as Michael Carrick, and vice versa. There is levels to this. There's also an impact of, okay, when you get a certain level of a manager, what is the plan? What is the plan? These guys promised us the Premier League by 2028. Okay? We have 2 years. We really have 1 year. After this year. In 2 years, we're meant to go and win it. That's what they promised us. And the problem that I have with this whole thing is they didn't want to sack Ruben Amorim. They hired Ruben Amorim. They had to do a massive change when getting Ruben Amorim in to transform the team. They didn't have the money for it, but yet they hired him anyway. It didn't go well. They then sacked him not because they wanted to, but because they were forced into doing it. Okay? And now they've brung in Carrick, and this is not part of their plan. This is not part of their plan. This is like they've basically winged it, okay? And Carrick has come in and won 4 games and drew 1. This is not part of their plan. This is luck on their part, okay? And they're benefiting from it a bit because if they hired Michael Carrick and Carrick came in and he lost 4 and drew 1, we would be having a very different conversation right now. But this has nothing to do with the direction that they're going to take the football club in. And if they give Michael Carrick the job, okay, well, how long and where do we go from there? What does this look like when you give Michael Carrick the job? What kind of backing are you giving him? How long does he get? Because again, I think if you give Michael Carrick the job, there's more, the fan base will have more leniency and will be more patient with Michael than they will if you got in Ancelotti or Tuchel. If you get in an Ancelotti or Tuchel, people are going to demand results almost immediately. With Michael Carrick, he will be given leeway. He will be given way more time. Because 1, he's an ex-United player. He's a legend. And 2, he's less experienced. So people are going to give him more freedom. But I don't trust these guys to follow through on the project. Because for me, again, the project ultimately, if you go with a guy like Michael Carrick, I don't think we can actually necessarily challenge. And I think when you go with Michael Carrick, I think it will be a process that it has to take 2 to 3 years to actually build a really strong team and have consistency and sustain that level. like they did for Amorim. Barada can let the next manager use his office in Old Trafford. He's a brilliant business. Just imagine the next manager will have his own office. The business genius of Barada is incredible. Nagelsmann, maybe. Well, listen, I like Nagelsmann. I think he's a very good manager. He's young. He plays a good brand of football. And I wanted Nagelsmann before Erik ten Hag. Erik ten Hag was not really. I shouldn't say that. Erik ten Hag was. I wanted Nagelsmann, but all indications were we're going for ten Hag, and I said, all right. I said, listen, I like the football he plays at Ajax. I want that football at United. We didn't get that football at United. But, yeah, I like Nagelsmann. I think Nagelsmann would be a good pick because he's a young guy, but he has far more experience in terms of for his young age. He's managed Bayern. He's done the national team. But we need money. And it needs to be a proper backing for me. Because it's just like, at the end of the day, no matter who we go with, if we go with Carrick, or we go with Nagelsmann, or we get somebody else in, if they don't stick to the plan, and they don't continue to back the manager properly, and they don't transform the team the way that the team needs to be transformed to stay in a certain position in the Football League consistently from season to season, then ultimately, like I've said always, it'll be for nothing because that manager will lose their job at some point. Whether it's in a year or 2 years or 3 years, they will lose their job because they will only be able to take the team so far before it starts falling flat and it starts going backwards, like it's happened every single time. Because every single time our football club has done this in one way or another, in a different way, in similar ways, they've always done it, okay? They've always done it. They back the first 1 or 2 years. It gets a bit rocky. They shit themselves. They start turning their back on the manager. They stop pushing to continue to grow the team. It falls apart out from under everybody. They throw that guy under the bus. And then they say, well, we're going to start again. And we can't keep doing that. We can't. It's one of the things that's been holding us back. We can't. It's been destroying us. Chelsea do it in a different way. They have a different model, but Chelsea haven't really won anything out of that. They've won more in recent times than us, but so far, what they've done in the recent, since Todd Bowley's come, hasn't really amounted to anything other than a Club World Cup. Not a big fan of Tuchel, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of Tuchel either, but what I'm saying is he's got a certain pedigree, okay? He's got a certain level. He's accomplished a certain number of things. So but he's not coming because he's staying with England. And I didn't think there was a good chance of him coming anyway because he turned us down the first time. And it was for obvious reasons, because I think Ineos want him to work within sort of these confinements, and he's not a manager that's going to work within a certain amount of confinements. He's a manager he wants power and freedom. And, they sort of did a similar thing to Ruben. And Ruben is a much smaller manager than Thomas Tuchel. So now, you would say, well, but maybe Tuchel has earned that right. And I would say maybe he has. And maybe you would be willing to give him a longer leash. Or no leash at all. But they don't seem willing to want to do that. So Carrick should be the guy. His tactics are the right way for the club to operate. Carrick should be the guy if Carrick does well. Because if Carrick takes the piss, and we don't get... Okay, let's put it this way. When Ruben was here, and before Ruben got sacked, okay, basically everybody was like, we can get top four and we can make top four. Okay, if Carrick doesn't end up getting top four, why should Michael Carrick get the job? Because I don't think he should. Because if Ruben was shit and we're missing out on top four because Ruben is shit, and Carrick comes in and we don't get Champions League football, and Carrick is in charge, then why should Michael Carrick get the job? He shouldn't. But if he does well, he should definitely be considered for it. But also, I think you need to evaluate all options that are there. And as I said before, if Carrick does well, I'm all for keeping Carrick over getting Roberto De Zerbi because I don't rate him that highly. I don't think he's anything special. I don't think Areola is anything special compared to Carrick. I don't think Glasner is anything special compared to Carrick. I don't think even like Eddie Howe or somebody like that. I don't think these guys are special. They're not Luis Enrique. They're not Don Carlo. They're not that level of a manager. They're not Hansi Flick, okay? They're not. So if Carrick does well, and our options are between Carrick, Glasner, De Zerbi, Areola, Eddie Howe, well then I'm going with Carrick. But if there's some sort of a top tier manager out there, you really got to sit down and think about it because it's two different paths. It's two totally different paths, in my opinion. Carrick has only managed Middlesbrough. He knows the club. It gives him a bit of an advantage in that sense, in that area. But ultimately, you then have to build the team, sustain the level of that team, and then go on to win things. Now, maybe Carrick won't be necessarily the guy to go and win things. Maybe he's just the guy that sustains us to a certain level. And then once we are in that level, for example, he can sustain us to a level where we are consistently top 2, top 3, strong, back-to-back seasons. But he can't seem to really get over that line. Well, then we have to go and take the next step after that. And then we should be in a position where actually we can get some sort of maybe we'll be at the correct position where we can take that next step with a high accomplished level manager that has gotten over the line before, that has won top accolades, top trophies in top competitions. But it's two different paths. I will only judge Carrick by the end of the season. No manager besides Pep can stand next to Carlo. And maybe Klopp. People were talking about Carrick for a while. Carrick is the guy, the Euro sub that kept us in the game, said a lot. Sebastian says, cheers, Eric, and everyone need to go now. 1:15 a.m. here. See you soon. Yeah, it's late. Thank you for stopping by, buddy. Appreciate it. What am I talking about? Their plan is to increase the value of the shares for shareholders. We need to implement a plan to take our club back and get rid of the owners. Axe, I'm not talking about that. You know why I won't talk about that. You want to implement a plan, Axe? I'll tell you exactly what you do. Get on a plane, fly to Manchester, go to Manchester, go into the streets, and start the revolution. And I'll meet you there. Carrick making teams afraid using 4-4-2. That's crazy. When Ruben was here, we ended 15th. Okay, when Ruben was here, he also had us in the position that Michael Carrick took us over in. So, Ruben also managed half of the season. But, it is what it is. Money for the plane? Start a GoFundMe or something. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. So either way, it makes no difference to me. Says Reynoso. Well, what do you mean? In what way? I don't know who this is, but Manchester United are monitoring BVB right back Julian Ryerson. My comment above. Commented. I don't see that comment. I don't see it. Oh, right here. It just popped them now. Why was that not there before? Let's sum it up. Ownership doesn't provide what is needed to any manager, but Carrick is unproven. Carrick gets the job and fails a mediocre investment. It provides the the patsy for owners once again. No, I see it now. Yeah, and part of the problem with Carrick, and it's not Carrick's fault in any type of way, it's the people that own our football club. There is an aspect of sentimentality when it comes to Michael Carrick that, just like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer received, no other manager will get. Okay, if you get any other manager that's not an ex-United player / legend, okay, there is an aspect of sentimentality that comes along with Michael Carrick, and you know, if people were able to be as patient as they were with Ruben, who has no connection to United at all, well, they'll be ultra patient with Michael Carrick. The problem with that is it kind of goes into the hands of the owners, where, like Reynoso was kind of saying, the ownership doesn't actually provide what is needed to any manager to properly succeed. And they want to do everything sort of half-assed. They want to do like they want to be great, but on a budget. They want to they hatch this plan that they can dominate, but also save money everywhere. And I don't really necessarily agree with that take in football, especially in today's time. I don't agree with it. I think the more money you spend, as long as you spend it well, the better you will be, the better chances you have, and you will ultimately win and succeed. Okay? Like, it took PSG a while to win the Champions League, but that's because look at how they operated. And look at how they operate now. Look at the team they originally built, okay? They tried to do Galacticos 2.0. It failed miserably. They got in one of the best director of footballs in the world, if not the best director of football in the world. This guy put a fucking team together, but they have money. They can go and buy whoever they need. But they put an actual team together, then they won the Champions League. Manchester City has transformed their team. Arsenal was shit for the longest time. They started to open up the checkbook. They spend it smartly and well. And they're sitting at the top of the league right now. Albeit by 4 points. Maybe they blow it again. But they've become better than us in terms of league position when they were worse than us and we were better than them. Liverpool has done the same. Chelsea are going to continue to do the same. And then we have our people that Carrick is not that experienced. And they're going to do everything on like a half-assed budget. And then expect greatness to happen. And I just don't see how that happens. I get your point. So my prediction, he gets booted out and slandered in 3 years instead of 1. Probably. I don't even know 3 years. Our club we have never done 3 years. Our football club has never let a manager be here for 3 full years. Never happened yet. Not yet. Not since Sir Alex is gone. Not a single guy has done it. Nobody's done it. Nobody's done a full 3 years. So, and that's because, again, we stopped doing the necessary things. Like, if they go with Carrick, right, this initial sort of thing, they probably will spend a decent amount. But again, when you get to January and they don't do winter transfers, and they don't get somebody, they don't add to the team, they don't do a deal, one deal, even if it's one deal, and it's for the summer, and it's not even for the season, just being proactive, they stop doing these things, we go backwards. And the whole thing collapses out from under the manager. Because the manager is not, they're not miracle workers. They're not like, you know, they're not going to turn water into wine. Like, it just doesn't happen. Like, there's a certain level that you have with the tools you have. And if you don't keep providing that guy a platform, if you don't keep providing that guy better tools, better resources, well, the level of the job is only going to be a certain level. It can't go any higher. There's a ceiling. There's a cap. And that's essentially what we have. Like, our owners put a cap on our football club. They cap us because of our sort of, unlike Ali, Carrick knows what it takes to replace a legend effortlessly. Let's just stop talking about Omri. Bro, I don't, what's wrong with you? For mentioning Ruben Amorim, I don't even need to explain this. Like, I don't get it. Whether you like Ruben Amorim or not, he was part of this club, and the ownership did things that was not right by the manager, okay? And was not right by the project. So, I'm not going to pretend like he doesn't exist, and if I need to mention him to make my point, I will mention him. I don't care. You have some weird hatred towards a fucking guy that you can't even hear his name. It's a personal issue, bro. I can't help you with that. Can't help you with that. Ali is a good super sub as player, and when he came in as a sub manager. You're right, just like anything. If your sole attention and investment is on something, it shows. But if you are the mistress, all the signs will be there. You get a budget Valentine's date on the 15th. Yeah, you get taken to McDonald's or no so on the 15th. Heart-shaped nuggets and all. We spent on Maguire, most expensive centre back in the world. Yeah, but that's, listen. But we shouldn't have done that deal, Chad, for the amount of money that we done. I just read, I mean, there is talks that we are looking to give him a new contract, and I've always said, and I'll continue to say, and I don't have a problem with it, if it's on reduced wages, and we're going into the Champions League, all right, and we need a larger squad, and for depth, I'll keep him for, and you obviously can't give him a 4-year or 5-year deal. You got to give him, you know, a 1 to 2 year deal, reduced wages. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. He should become a squad player. There should be an emphasis and a push next season for Euro Heaven, Martinez and De Ligt to be basically competing with each other for the starting spot. Whoever wins out, starter, whether that's Euro Martinez, whether it's Heaven and Martinez, whether it's De Ligt and Martinez. And he could stay. But we shouldn't have done that deal for the money that we did. And that's not Harry's fault. And that's our club's fault. Like, you know, I look at that and I go, you could say we spent money for Maguire, most expensive centre-back in history, but he shouldn't have been the most expensive centre-back in history because he was not the most expensive centre-back in history. We spent money stupidly. That's a stupid thing to do. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, at one point, we blew a lot of money. but we spent it really badly. Now, they're trying to do everything sort of on a budget. And whether, listen, it's hard to tell if they're lying or they've actually crippled this football club. Because sometimes I feel like they're full of shit. But sometimes I'm like, well, they do run the club like shit. So I can understand how maybe we are in a position where we are crippled financially and we can't spend. It's a hard line to sort of walk. Because ultimately, we need to continue to spend money. Because if we spend like a mid-table club, we will end up like a mid-table club. It's just proven facts. If you go look at the financials of clubs, what you spend is pretty much where you end up for the most part. For the most part. Not always, but for the most part. Okay? The lower your wage bill is, if your wage bill is 10th in the league, you have a certain level of player. That certain level of player is only going to take you so high in the Premier League. So, they should have never done that. Manchester City were looking to sign Harry Maguire. You know what they valued him at? 40 million. What did we do? Pay 80 million. Why? Because we're morons. Because we have idiots. And we have greedy business people that were probably looking to inflate the price of the club. So, beating City, Arsenal, Spurs in a row with this squad. Water into wine. Okay, I get it, Chad, but my point is, because I know this fan base inside and out, and everybody's happy now, okay? And because he's done miracles, all right? And what happens is, if Carrick's here for the next 2 years, and the highest he can get us is 4th, all right? Well, what happens then? What happens then? If the highest that he can make us go is 4th, or 3rd, or 5th, and he can't get us any higher than that, well, what happens then? Because then everything stalls. And also, everybody's going to shift, okay? If we finish 4th this season, everybody expects us to finish at least 4th next season. But everybody will ask to finish higher because there should be a push. If you finish 4th, your objective next season is how do you finish 3rd? Or how do you finish 2nd? Or how do you make a push for 1st? Maybe it's too big of a leap from 4th to 1st. Maybe you do it if you're ambitious. But there's going to be demands. And if you don't upgrade the squad properly, and the squad is at a certain level, Michael Carrick is not going to turn water into wine. He's not going to make a team that is at best maybe 4th place, 5th place team. He's not going to get them to win the Premier League, which is ultimately what everybody's goal is, which is ultimately what everybody will push for at some point in time, which ultimately he will then fail, and then ultimately he will lose his job. Lukaku, Pogba, Sancho, CR7, Wan-Bissaka, Onana, and others we had invested, but not always in the right players. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, they did spend a bunch of money. But look at the money that we spent and look who we spent it on, and look at the money that the other teams spent. Look at the money they spent, and look at who they spent it on, and look at how those players turned out, and look at how the players that we got turned out. All right, let's see you later, Ax. We spent on Anthony, Onana, Martinez, Xerxes, Sancho, Wan-Bissaka, and ended up in 15th. Well, yeah, I mean, listen. Anthony should have never spent that money, and the club is incompetent for doing that. They could have got him for fucking 35, 40 million in June. They refused to do it. They shit themselves. They panic bought him 2 days before the window closed because they lost the first 2 games under Erik ten Hag. So we spent 80, 85 million for him when we didn't need to. And we could have bought 2 or 3 players for that. Or we could have bought a totally different player for 80 million that's actually worth 80 million. Onana was a bad buy as well. And we spent a good chunk of money on him. Martinez, I think, is a good signing. Xerxes, nothing special. Hasn't really... His time here has been real weird. He was shit in the beginning. He came into it. Now he's out of favor again. Looks like he's not going to stay here. Sancho was a disaster. Wan-Bissaka didn't work out well. And again, I think we ended up in 15th again because nobody wants to talk about it, but like I was said, it's quite the fact that they wanted to shift back to a 4-2-3-1. They tried to force Ruben to do it. Ruben made it clear from day one he was never going to do that because that's not what he does. That wasn't their agreement. That wasn't their plan. And that's not his philosophy to play a 4-2-3-1. So he wasn't going to do it. And now Carrick's come back. Carrick's come in. And he plays a 4-2-3-1. And the team plays better. And that to me was always the mistake with Ruben. I always said it wasn't against Ruben. But it's the process of the football club. And the direction that they're taking him in. And that's why I was like, you got to let him finish the season. Because you can't hire that guy with the way he plays and expect him to do a job without the resources to do the job that he wants to do. If he specializes in a 3-4-2-1 and you don't have players to play a 3-4-2-1, there's only 2 decisions. Either you shouldn't have hired him, or you get the money and you fucking back the guy and you make the changes necessary. They basically did neither. They basically thought that they could get Ruben in, do the change over a period of time and do it on a budget and do it slowly. It's too massive of a change. It's too massive of a change. They should have never done it if they weren't going to give him... If you're not going to give him time and you're not going to give him the money, then you shouldn't hire the guy. You shouldn't hire the guy. But this is why like I am concerned, because their plan was him. Their plan was that change. That plan has blown up. They are now sort of in, I don't know, this weird space. Because Michael Carrick was not part of the plan. Now maybe he's become part of the plan, but he was not part of the plan. There was no plan in which they were like, we'll sack Ten Hag to bring in Ruben, and then we'll sack Ruben so we could bring in Carrick. They sacked Ruben. They didn't even know who to get. They didn't even know what to do. They didn't even have a plan because they had no intention of doing so. Maybe not until the summer. We also had no options because it was like, who are you going to go get? They got Carrick in, and now they're just sort of flying blind with this. In that, if Carrick does good, they're going to take the utmost credit for it, and they're going to spin it into their geniuses, and they're going to give him the job, and then I worry for Michael Carrick. Because I just think that Carrick won't be able to do... I don't think Carrick will be able to go to a certain... He won't be able to pass a certain point, like every other guy. And when that happens, We'll be at the same point again. Especially Carrick, because he's a bit inexperienced. When Liverpool said goodbye to their number 8 and captain, they won the Champions League, and then the league just sang. He also benched Mano. He did bench Mano. And I would still make the argument that in his system, I don't think it would work well. I don't think it will work well. Because that system leaves you quite exposed. You need runners in the center of that. You need centers in the runner of that. The perfect replacement for Keane was never seen as Carrick. Well, yeah, non-football owners got spooked into not backing their own project. Him and his play style and formation. Our league standing was good. But the hysteria behind easy win games being draws. Well, that's the whole thing. And like, but listen, bro, he got sacked, okay? Because he called them out in a press conference. If he went in that press conference and he just said yes, no, he would still be here. Because they didn't want to sack him. And they weren't going to. They weren't going to. They didn't have a plan for it. And they didn't want to pay him that money. But they weren't having, I guess, what they consider insubordination from their subordinate, because, you know, they are his bosses and they are on top of him. So but I don't know, people are very I see things in the fan base. I don't really agree with it either. Like if we win versus Everton, okay, Manchester United will be unbeaten in 10 matches. But they'll give the credit to just Carrick, but Ruben was a part of that, and so was Fletcher. Because they managed in those 10 matches. But it is what it is. And Mino hasn't shown that he can run, especially in recent games. Yeah, but the formation is different, bro. The formation is different. The cover is different. Fabrizio's giving us an update saying there is no concrete movement from Manchester United regarding Alexis Mac Allister. Nothing initiated or advanced at this stage. Interesting. He didn't deny that they're not. He didn't deny that they're not looking at him. sardines. What's for dinner? Dinner, chicken and rice. Or chicken and, or steak and rice. One of the two. That's all I eat, really. Rice and chicken or rice and steak. Some veggies. You know, the morning, I usually eat like eggs, 2 eggs, some sort of protein. It's going all right. You know what I mean? Sometimes it gets a little, sometimes you get a little fed up, you know? Because I'm like, I wish I could have like a slice of pizza or something, but, I mean, technically I can. I mean, it's just, you gotta be in a calorie deficit, but I'd rather not for right now, you know? Right now is not, listen, I think, I always say this, like, I'm not at the stage where, like, look, my friend that has a 6-pack, yeah? If he wants to go and eat a slice of pizza, or 2, on a Tuesday, he can. It's not gonna fucking do anything to him, alright? He's not gonna, you know, it's not gonna do anything to him. He's fine. He's in a place where he can go and eat, you know. He's way ahead of the curve. Alright? I don't got that. So I'm not in a position to be able to afford sort of that luxury, you know? So I'm at the point where I just gotta grind it out and tough it out, you know what I mean? And suffer. Suffering's good sometimes, though, you know? Suffering's good sometimes. So, it builds character. But yeah, I've done it before. This isn't the first time I've done this. The shitty part that pisses me off the most is that I've already done this like 2 or 3 times, and I've fallen into that category, which pisses me off. That I'm one of those people that like put in that work, and I got to like a decently good spot, and then I allowed myself to go backwards, and then I had to do it again. And then I did it again, and I did the same thing again, and now this is like the 3rd time. So, this is the last time that that's gonna happen, or that has happened. So never again. You know what I mean? Unfortunately. Works on the unfortunate thing is I don't like fish. I'm not a fish. I'm not a seafood kind of guy. So there's no way in hell I can eat. I can't eat sardines. I can't eat tuna. I am not. I can't eat that stuff, man. It makes me. It grosses me out. It grosses me out. I don't like it. I don't like it. So. I gotta. I have to find. I find other ways. You know. I do take like the fish oil though. You know what I mean? I take the fish oil, which even that is like, it gives me a bad taste. Lingering fish taste, you know, but it is good for you. He's covering everything now. Okay, but why wasn't he doing it when he came on as a sub under Ruben Amorim? In the position that he was playing. That's my only thing. He might be doing it now. He wasn't doing it then. He's playing in a different system. Under a different guy. So you're getting different results. Yeah, me too. Eating from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. only. Oh, you're doing the intermittent fasting? I need to get back on that as well. My eating schedule is like... My eating schedule is all over the place. Sometimes I eat early, sometimes I eat late. I'm like, fucking, I don't know why. Sometimes I'm not hungry. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm like that. I wasn't like that. So. But, listen, we are gonna get out of here, okay? Because I do gotta go take care of some stuff. I apologize that I haven't been live. My work schedule is one that sort of is all over the place and not constant. It changes, and the hours change and stuff like that. So I was unable to stream for like literally the past 4 days. But I'm back today, and it's just a slow week as well. Fabrizio just told us Man United will not decide in February whether to sign a midfielder. What? I'll be not. But this is what I'm saying. Like, we spent all of January of them telling us we're getting Wharton, we're getting Baleba, we're getting Elliot Anderson. Now it's February. And Fabrizio is telling us United will not decide in February whether to sign a midfielder. Why? 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 You should absolutely know who you need to sign for the summer. Right now. If the rest of our fan base can sit here, look at the squad, and say, yeah, when we get to the summer window, we need to sign a midfielder, and we need to sign a winger, and we need to sign the left back. Why is the club not deciding in February whether to sign a midfielder? This is the shit that I don't understand. This is what I don't understand from the football club. I don't get it. I don't get it. This is why this is why I worry about the whole thing, because it's just like, we've been here too many times. They promise you the world in October. They promise you the world in January for the summer. Then they start walking shit back as you get closer to June. And then we do a summer transfer window where we are like literally begging them to make signings because we need signings. And we take long. They don't get that. Some of them are late. Some of them don't hit the preseason. They come in after we already started the league. And we're always starting behind. You know, behind. Like when we go to preseason, okay? Nobody takes preseason seriously. I take preseason seriously. I take it seriously, because if the team is looking like shit, and they're playing like shit, what do you think is going to happen in about 2-3 weeks' time when we play the first Premier League game, the actual competitive game? What do you think is going to happen? And every time I see us go into preseason, and we can't get wins in preseason, and we're performing like shit in preseason, it has always translated into us having a horrible first like 3 or 4 games of the Premier League campaign. And we can't afford that shit. We literally can't afford that. Renault says, all right, bro, at the store, have a good one. Let us know if you're back tomorrow. Well, I'm trying to think. Wednesday, we won't be around. So Wednesday, not happening. I plan for Thursday, but I'm not 100% sure. Because I as of right now, I got nothing. I got nothing for Thursday, but something can come up. But I'm shooting for Thursday. Or Friday or Saturday. Then we got the game coming up. So I don't really know. It's a bit hard to give the schedule right now, but yeah, I think tomorrow we won't be around either. Let me see. So tomorrow we won't be around. So Tuesday and Wednesday we won't stream, and then I'll look to come back on Thursday, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll see what we do about those days. All right. So I'll keep you guys updated. I don't know if you guys get the community things. I put posts in the community tab, so I don't know if you guys see that pop up on your feed. If you're wondering, just pop in on the channel and go to the community tab from time to time and see if I put a post there, because I don't know how well that community thing works. Like you could go there and see it, but I don't know if it notifies you. I mean, if you have the notifications on for the channel, you should get a notification about the post, so that way you'll know. But for those of you that aren't in the Discord, if you're in the Discord, obviously I'll give you the update when I can. So, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. Tomorrow's a no-go. Wednesday, I can't do it. And Thursday we'll see. So I don't know. We'll just see how it goes for the rest of the week. I'll let you guys know when I can. You know what I mean? Do a community post, update you in the Discord. I'll let you know for sure when I know for sure. I'll try to let you know 24 hours before, a day before. I should know. So, yeah, other than that, though, everybody take care, be good, have a good night, enjoy yourselves, stay safe. Thank you for tuning in. It's good to be back. I missed you guys. Missed the conversations. I'll miss the conversations again for the next few days. So, but yeah, thank you for the support. Thank you everybody that smashed the like button. Thank you everybody that got involved in the live chat. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Until then, take care and stay safe.